Good evening, YouTube. Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. So if I sound stuffy, that's because I am, unfortunately. Trying to figure out a way to work around that. Very bad timing, but onward we move. That being said, we already know the situation with tomorrow's start. We also have tonight's threat to deal with. Storms have already been ongoing. A multitude of severe thunderstorm watches in effect right now, and potential for yet another one to be issued here. It's a mesoscale discussion that was issued about an hour and some change ago. Right between West Plains and Missouri, all the way over towards Evansville and Indiana, there could be potential for a severe watch to develop. Storms could fire along this stationary boundary, and as a result, we could end up seeing an increased potential for maybe some hail. So, pretty much today is kind of living up to expectations so far. Nothing in the way of tornadoes. Was kind of expecting that to be the case, considering most of the storms would be elevated. The hail threat was going to be dominant so far, and it looks like that has definitely been the case, especially over the last couple of hours. A couple of wind reports there, nothing unheard of, but again, as far as the tornadoes are concerned, I'm not super concerned about that. We'll still be watching as we head later into the evening for increased hail threat, but I think we'll start to transition more to heavy rain threat. And then, of course, we have the big elephant in the room, which is now a moderate risk for Friday. You also have to keep an eye on that marginal risk Saturday, but we're probably not going to have the time to discuss that tonight. The video is already coming up late, unfortunately, so yeah, just things have been messy since the time jump to daylight savings time. But let's go ahead and look at day 2 now. Here is our moderate risk right here. Very sizable area there as well. Mainly hugging the part of the Mississippi River Valley here between Greenville, just to the south of Memphis, just north of Alexandria here, and just to the east of Shreveport. Multiple towns are included in this moderate risk, and this is a tornado-driven threat, in case you didn't know. 15% area is considered a moderate risk by the SPC, with a hatch risk that extends all the way through the enhanced risk. So we could see a very dangerous concoction of severe storms over here that could be capable of producing all hazards, including tornadoes, some of which could be strong. We'll take a look at some of the soundings later. But in that moderate risk particularly, I want to make sure I get some of these names out there now. Of course, we know that Jackson's in there. We know that Greenville, Mississippi is in there. Vicksburg, you're in there as well, unfortunately. Then we also have Pine Bluff and Monroe in line for potentially a very nasty weather day. We also have to keep an eye on just the hatch risk itself. We have Memphis, Tennessee, Jackson, Tennessee in there as well. Shreveport is in that. Alexandria too, and numerous other cities. Little Rock is in there too. So just because you aren't in that moderate risk does not mean you can't see a significant storm. In fact, it's very much possible, almost likely. Not quite as confident as what we would say in the moderate risk, but can't rule it out for sure. Also, can't discount anyone that's in the slight risk here. That includes Nashville, just to the west of Bowling Green. Mayfield, you are in there as well. Baton Rouge, we're watching you too. And then even as far to the west as Lufkin here, we'll have to be watching you too. Huntsville, as far east as maybe Huntsville, Clarksville, Tennessee, and even Birmingham. We'll be watching you because that threat for a tornado or any type of severe weather isn't zero for you guys. Same can be said for the wind threat, more so towards the northwest side of where the enhanced risk is where we can expect some potentially significant damaging winds, which would be right along where that jet streak is. Not too much has really changed with that, so no surprises here really to be had. We'll see if this gets upgraded to a moderate risk. I'm kind of leaning a little bit more so. Well, maybe. We'll have to see how the low levels of the atmosphere act in accordance with this system here. But I wouldn't rule out a moderate risk being issued a little bit further to the north here. As far as the hail threat is concerned, no significant areas with this. Lapse rates aren't going to be quite as impressive. The convection is going to be considerable, but nothing like what we'll be seeing tonight across Oklahoma and Texas. So this will probably end up staying at a slight risk, although I couldn't rule out the potential of a very small enhanced risk level hail threat along the southern Mississippi Valley here. So that being said, onward to the models. So here's a look at the mid-level jet here. This is what we're looking at right now. This is why I'm not super concerned about the severe threat. It's kind of broken up here, and I don't know why this sounding came up. But the mid-level jet across Oklahoma and Texas and parts of Missouri here, Kansas, a lot of these areas are not seeing a super strong mid to upper level jet, and usually that'll translate all the way towards the low level jet as well. So as a result, I'm not really expecting a whole lot to come from this system here as far as tonight's severe is concerned. When we get towards tomorrow, though, that's when things really start to develop. When we already head towards lunch hour for the southeast here, we can already start to see this maximum beginning to emerge here. We're even seeing up to almost 100 knots worth of wind shear here already. And then shortly after that, the event begins to occur here. I know why I keep on bumping the computer, I think, and that's why that's popping up. But by the time we get to OOZ, which is when the storms will really start to take off here, already getting little pockets here of up to 80 knots plus. We go ahead and take a look at that. The sounding here, ridiculous curve in the hordeograph, ridiculous storm relative helicity, and an increasing significant tornado parameter. These numbers are going to probably be getting even higher by the time we look in the morning. I will have a video up for that, hopefully. But that being said, you can see this jet streak is really prominent, and it just lingers. And even as we head towards Saturday afternoon, we have to watch towards the southeast again for maybe an additional round of severe storms. I think it'll be more so in the morning than the evening. Once we get further along here, I think the threat will eventually diminish. So switching over to the low-level jet here really quickly. This is another reason why we're concerned. The look at this maximum that develops here. So with this, you can almost see immediately speed and directional shear present. You have winds towards the upper levels going in this way. If you were paying attention a little early, you'll kind of remember the barbs going in this direction here. And if you look closely, like you see this barb, for example, it's going in this direction. So we have change in wind direction. We have differential speed. Differential or varying wind speeds at different levels of the atmosphere. So two key components for a tornado outbreak right here. I don't really even need to harp over the warm and moist sector. We've been doing that for days. Nothing has changed with that. Dew points in the upper 60s, some places even getting up to 70, with temperatures getting close to 80 degrees. Usually that is a recipe for homemade dynamite. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the other severe weather parameters here. Almost click that area for dew points and temperatures out of habit here. We'll start out by looking at the Cape values here. Start out with the mixed layer. Pretty much at this point, we know that both the surface and mixed layer Cape is going to be very impressive for this event. More than sufficient enough, but not to the point where we get an oversaturation of storms from the looks of things here. So it's heading towards about 8 o'clock here. Look at that. We're even starting to get areas where we're getting close to about 2,000 joules per kilogram now. Very alarming stuff right here. And this is right around where our greatest threat is going to be. I'm trying to see if I can find a sounding that has a PDS tornado signature on there, because I've been seeing them all over social media, but for some reason I've been having trouble finding them. Excuse me. I'm just trying to fight through this as best as I can. So, in the meantime here, I'm going to try to see if maybe it's this one right here. Nope. But it's still an impressive sounding right here, especially towards the mid to upper levels. But that being said, we pretty much have a good idea of what the threat of just how significant the threat is going to be just from looking at the CAPE values, let alone the stuff we were looking at yesterday when we're looking at storm relative velocities. I'll show it again just to be fair, so that way if anyone didn't catch that yesterday, they can see it now. So for anyone that wasn't here yesterday, storm relative velocities are usually measuring the wind shear within a thunderstorm or within a given area. Also want to make this disclaimer now, just because you see these brighter colors with these stronger helicities does not mean that you will get a tornado or any type of severe weather. This is more or less just going over wind shear, as really mentioned in the parameter box here, storm relative helicity. If you think of what the word helicity means, you'll pretty much be able to figure that out. But that being said, this is heading into Friday afternoon, and look at the helicities we see here. We're easily seeing 300, 400. Wait, what in the world did I just see there? Saw 500, but I thought I saw I did see a 600. Oh my goodness. That is very alarming. I don't think I've seen a even though this isn't wow. Even though this is only for marginal severe, to see a 600 meters squared per second squared from 0 to 3 kilometers, that's incredible. That's insane. This storm is thankfully going to be elevated, so the tornado threat is minimal. But I had to look at that for a second. That was just, you don't see that every day. That just shows how primed up this atmosphere actually is. Of course, this is more so towards where that surface front is going to, that surface low is going to be. So it's not unheard of to have that kind of wind shear, but still within that warm sector, that can still be a recipe for some homemade, like I said, some homemade dynamite. And this isn't really towards the peak part of the threat here. That's the scary part about this. I'm very concerned about the threat of significant tornadoes just by seeing these right here. Now this is a ridiculous sounding right here. 542 meters squared per second squared. It doesn't even matter what the surface cape is or anything of that magnitude. Just the fact that we have this kind of curve in the hordeograph is bad news enough in its own right. Like I said, I'm not trying to scare anybody. Definitely want to make sure that everyone is prepared for this, but I want to know just what the heck we are getting into as well. I want everyone to know just what the heck they're getting into as well. And this is really the part where I get concerned right here, as we get widespread ridiculous helicities. Oh my gosh. 785. Wow. This is reminding me somewhat of some of the super outbreak soundings I saw in 2011. Very hard thing for me to say there, but this is very, very dangerous, very alarming signals that I'm getting here. Very dangerous. So this could very well be an overnight threat. I'll be happy to live stream this. Hopefully I'll be feeling a little better. But this is not, like I said, this is not something to mess with. Please, if you are in these areas, take this seriously, because this is not playing around here. If these storms live up to the potential that we're seeing here, then we have huge problems on the way possibly. So if you see a tornado warning issued for your area, do not sit and wait. Definitely take shelter immediately. And furthermore, I also want you to realize, with this atmospheric setup being what it is, these tornadoes are going to be moving at highway speeds, which basically is 60 to 70 miles per hour, maybe even faster than that. So do not play around with this. It could cost you dearly in more ways than you can imagine. That being said, hate to give that kind of warning out, but that's just showing how serious the threat is this time around. We'll go over what the storm mode is expected to be really quickly for tomorrow, and then we'll probably touch upon it again in the morning before I head to work. But simply put, The main thing that we're going to be looking out first off will be the discrete storms. So this is towards about 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Central. These storms could also be severe in their own right. We almost kind of hope that they would be, in a way, because this could maybe water down the atmosphere just a little bit. But when this main line comes in, it's these prefrontal storms that we have to be really watchful of. And you can even see a few of these forming little kidney beans right here. But what ends up happening as this drags on, you see the increased number of little kidney bean cells here with the curvatures developing, especially over towards this one. This is a really impressive signature here. I couldn't help myself. I had to click the sounding. Not the most impressive helicity, but still very strong in its own right. But as we go forward, we can see this line kind of break up into an embedded supercellular mode along with prefrontal storms. So this will be a lingering threat and even could become a problem across Alabama and Georgia as we head into the early morning hours of Saturday. So definitely something that we'll be needing to watch across the entire Southeast as we head through Friday and into Saturday. But that's all I got for you guys here. I'm sorry if you hear me sniffling. I'm trying my best to deal with it. But I know I have to make this video at the very least. Hopefully I'm feeling better by tomorrow because I do want to try to live stream this if at all possible. But we'll see how things go. Of course, with this threat, again, can't preach it enough. Take this seriously. Do not play around with this storm system. This could be a very dangerous event. Hopefully it does not live up to that, but I don't know. When you see setups like this, it definitely brings back some memories of some very harsh setups, and I remember the consequences that were borne because of it. That being said, again, take those warnings seriously. Try to avoid being out. Have a place to take shelter if you're in these areas. I'm going to get off of here. I'm not feeling any better. Hopefully tomorrow will be much better. I'll see you guys in the morning. Of course, you know what to do. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe. Share the video, of course, especially in this situation. Share the video, please. And then let me know if you're in an area of interest tomorrow, especially if you're in the comments. But this has been Tyre Metal Weatherman. I'm going to get some rest. You guys have a good night, and I'll see you soon.